Okay, starting off, we have a Aka ban on Bguy. Aka enabling a lot of very offensive, aggressive tactics with her move buff. So that slows it down. There is still Werner on Bguy's side for a similar move buff, no, not quite the same. Bguy opting to ban Ro8. Pretty standard ban. Most people don't want to deal with her debuff immunity stacks, especially with Bguy running Bozel, Licorice, Rian, Kruger. He has a primarily what looks like somewhat of a rush debuff box, alright, rush AoE. So he does pick up Werner for the move speed. And Ceui proceeds to ban out TJ's teleport and burn for his faction buff and heal debuff AoE. Picks up Liana since they banned Ro8 and there was only 2 other healers left. So Ceui opting to pick up a healer before the other healers potentially get banned out. Now Bguy can choose to disable. There's 3 tanks on Ceui's side, so he can disable threats. Looks like he does. Gets rid of Ares for the easy engage, as well as Juggler, so that he doesn't have reactive heals to counter any kind of AoE coming in. He's probably going to look to pick up one of his AoEs here. Based on what's showing, maybe it's a. He could also pick up a tank, but he does pick up Licorice. Ceui immediately locking down Ares, just because of Ares' wide range to engage, and picks up Lustriel. Lustriel, a good potential counter here because of her long range, especially with some of the terrain features on the map. So that lets her attack before Bguy can come into AoE. Now Bguy goes ahead and bans TJ for the teleport as well as Hilda. Now there's only Landius as a tank. We're continuing to bang out the AoE options here, getting rid of Rian and Kruger. Bguy does get Himiko, so Himiko being his longest engage range. A solid pick against Lustriel, since Lustriel can't just pick off Himiko. He'll trigger the teleport. We're going to opting to lock in Landius. There's his tank option. Tanking may not be as important if it's all AoE, but Werner's always a threat. The thing is, Werner can still bypass guard at 10 blocks, so Landius may not do a whole lot. So not quite sure there what Landius provides. Bguy going ahead and banning out Himiko. And Florentia's act again, potentially very deadly, since you can pick off multiple people with double act again. Bguy now getting rid of a tank. He does have Ainz. Ainz really strong against high movement characters because his AoE is extra damage against things with extra movement. Ceui locking in Arian Rod. Now Arian Rod is really solid here, because all the chip damage that's going to be coming in from AoE will make her proccing her double attack at 70% health a lot easier to do. That can be potentially very strong against the squishy Himiko and Licorice. Now Mariel Kruger gets banned. These guys pick ban pretty fast here, so let me switch out for a second during the deployment screen here. So on Ceui's side, Ceui has Lustriel to make it a little bit harder to engage because she can pick them off. And when they do engage, Arian Rod will get chip damage from all the AoEs, which makes her able to counter AoE pretty strong. Now you have Oldius. Oldius doesn't do too much against the AoEers because they can all be infantry move except for Ainz. But you can provide a bit of damage. Provides faction buff for Aryan Rod, and then you have Landius just tanking. But depending on whether Landius is horse or cavalry, or Lancer, it determines whether how useful they'll be. Because Landius is a bit slower, so we'll see how that turns out. Now on Bguy's side, it's a standard rush AoE. Depending on whether Bozel has boots, Ainz will have 4 move from fly. Himiko will have 6 move, and then Werner buffs all their movement as well. So he's really just going in. Looks like we're starting. Bozo looks like he does have boots, so he's really just a high movement team here. Everybody with infantry movement so far, except for Werner. So Oldie's tile debuff isn't going to do a whole lot against that. But he does provide some DPS and can position up pretty safely because of revive. So Landius Oldies here can position aggressively with without too much problem. Now, Bguy is going to be looking to position in such a way that she doesn't get sniped by Illustrial, and then going in at the right time to get as many people as possible, which is going to be a little bit easier because it looks like he has move. Bozel has boots, and the other two also have high moves. So really, Licorice is the slowest character out of the group, but they're all going to get buffed by Werner. Now, looks like he's just walking up. Ceui can just walk up. He's not too worried. Because he's basically daring him to start AoEing just to get rocked by Aryan. Looks like, and then Oldius looks like his primary job is to faction buff Aryan Rod here and provide some supplemental DPS. Most Oldiuses run Gift of Eternal Life, so that when they attack they heal back some, so it's supplementary healing that can come in besides Liana's standard heals. He did take... Ceui does have Horse Landius, so he has the 5 movement, so even though you don't normally want to tank against heavy AoE, just because they tend to not be able to participate in the fight too much because it's cavalry, the extra movement will allow him to be more aggressive and actually counter damage a lot of these AoEers and actually hurt them. Aryan Rod took adversity, so only takes the 2 AoEs. Basically, it's an assumption that you're going to be below 70% health, where that skill comes in for additional stats. And then Liana opting to take Gospel so she doesn't get debuffed. Bozel and Licorice's heal block debuffs could potentially be pretty devastating here because we don't have Sky Archer. So you're just reliant on Liana's talent heal. Now, Liana has to decide who he wants to gospel, right? She can gospel herself, so she can always single target heal, or she can gospel one of the DPS to make sure that they don't get silenced. It seems like he's thinking through that. Now, He positioned Illustrial on the bottom to take advantage of more of the forest tiles to increase her movement. So now her range is even higher. So it's a lot harder for them to engage from there. Actually, Bozil is in snipe range right now. Not sure if he's gonna go for that though. Bguy sees that and positions Himiko to prevent that from happening, right? So now Lustriel can't hit Bozil because she's body blocking the tile where she would be. So it looks like Ceui ups to Gospel Lustriel. Make sure that she doesn't get a movement down debuff from Himiko, because that 3C is probably coming right now. Positioning in such a way that's not easy to land a 3C on the entire team. But Himiko will hit at least 3 pretty easily if she pushes up. Now, there's the 3C. 3C could potentially steal Gospel, so let's see what happens here. It did steal Gospel, but at least she doesn't have the move debuff. Now, it's tricky because Lustriel can now snipe Bozil if she gets topped off. Not sure if he wants to do that necessarily. He might. He's not gonna heal up. He's just actually gonna back up. Probably doesn't want to risk the debuff that's coming from ninjutsu and wants to get cleaned up here. I thought ninjutsu provides 1 debuff. How come she has 4? That's odd. Why does he have 4 debuffs? That's very weird. Now, Himiko being very annoying. Ceui trying to decide what he wants to do about it. Now you wanna attack Himiko to force her to teleport back, but that puts you in position of all the AoEs. So he's really debating on that here. Himiko's really forward position. It's kind of tough to deal with. So I guess he's deciding for now just to leave her there. Himiko's turn already ended, so it's not like she's gonna do anything right away. But that is something that he'll have to deal with as a threat. Now Liana still has Act Again, so if Bguy pushes up without any concern, then she could potentially Act Again Illustrial and snipe somebody. So Bguy can't just rush in, and nobody's quite in range out of AoEs. So there's still some positioning he has to do there. So he does call up with Irons. Oh wow. So that snare, she can't act against anybody but Landius and Oldius at this point, because she's stuck in place. He does get some kind of a buff onto Liana. I think it was a regen buff. So he moves up Oldius so that Oldius can actually be in range to normal attack Himiko to force the teleport. The normal attack too will proc a heal. So not only does it force the teleport, but it'll heal up one of the units, because GOEL will proc from that. Here comes the follow-up buff, move buff here on Ainz and Licorice. So here's Act Again, so that's, he did do that. Now this normal attack will top off Illustriel. The problem is that Bguy's AoEs are in range now on this turn, so it's gonna hit everybody. So depending on how bad those debuffs are may make a huge difference on how the rest of the fight goes. Arian hasn't moved yet, but Arian won't be eating any AoEs yet. Okay, Bguy teleports up top to be in range. Looks like he opts for the double punt. Yeah, so Ain's moved out of the way, so now you can punt Bozel further back. So now the only person in range to AoE is Licorice and Ain's. So that's kind of a big deal, depending on how much damage Ain's does to Illustrio. Illustrio might die from Ain's AoE. But the damage done to Bguy's units are almost permanent. Licorice the only source of healing, which is basically just a 3C unless he clocks multiple times. That's just one instance of heal here. Alright, let's see what this does to Illustrio. And there it is, it's a kill. Yeah, Ain's countering Illustrio's high movement pretty hard here. Ceui does get the counter kill here. And will proc the double attack because Ain's AoE'd, so Licorice is probably dead too. Oh no, he's not. Yeah, okay. Sorry, that was the move again effect. Okay, so that's a 2-for-1. Werner's not going to be able to kill Arian Rod too easily, I don't think. Bozel can AoE just 2 people. He goes for the kill on Liana. Now he can run away a little bit. But I think Landius can reach Werner wherever he goes. Gets the heal, is out of Bozel's range. So Bozel can only really AoE or attack. Arian Rod, wow, gets the kill. Oh, that's right, because when she attacked Licorice, it used up the Grand Cross charge. So now it's 2v2. Alright, Werner Bozel versus, and Bozel gets a black hole. It's a lot of damage. Gets the silence. Silence not too big. What other debuffs do you have? No heal block. So this is gonna heal. Landius still has a revive, but Oldius is passive blocked, so Werner could potentially kill Oldius here, which could be bad. Now Landius is heal blocked, but will still revive with 20% of the health. Landy is potentially able to just kill Bozo depending. Actually, might not. I don't know. That Bozo's kind of squishy, but Crystal Warlock still have 6k health. Okay, opts to attack Landius. Throws procs, but doesn't do too much because it's a small HP pool. He opts to attack Bozo. Does not get the kill. It's not 2v1. So this is rough because I think Werner may be able to. Okay, so Werner doesn't kill here. Passive block ends after this. So he heals up and gets the revive proc back and has turn priority. So he has a good shot here. Ooh, the stance switch for the heal. Bozo being really hard to break through because of the force tile plus high base magic defense. But Oldius is topped off. He lost his passive though. Damn, that passive block is brutal. That's twice now. It's only one turn though. So as long as he survives this turn. But he might not. Defensive stance means he doesn't do as much damage, and Bozo's really chipped, so he could potentially survive. Bozo can't attack just blindly either, so he's thinking it through. Takes some more chip damage. Ooh, that debuff. Passive block again. He might die here. Does he die? Dies. GG. Wow, 2 passive blocks in a row. That's rough. Okay, we're into game 2. I think they're going into their deploy screen here, so I will switch this while they do their deployments. Ooh, I have mail. Still waiting on Bguy's backup formation selections here. The draft still hasn't started. So let's see how this goes. So that was interesting. The double passive block really made a huge difference in the end. The initial kill on Illustrial really hurt, which came from the fact that Liana's heal couldn't reach Lustriel. So basically Ceui opted to double AoE Himiko instead of proccing the GOEL heal off of Oldius that might have topped off Illustrial. But there's no guarantee that he would have survived anyway, so that's hard to assume that that would have worked out. Okay, the draft is starting. We have so Ceui slots in Elwyn. Elwyn being a good counter against AoE Rush. Bguy still banning Resensiel, so that's the biggest problem for him, and Ceui banning Akka. So same draft line here so far, with the Liana pick first. So yeah, it looks like he dropped Illustrial for Elwyn, both fulfilling the similar kind of role, which is the long range threat for positioning. But Elwyn gets banned. Elwyn Juggler still takes Werner first. There's the ban on Bernhardt. Bernhardt Himiko. Himiko being a real nuisance last game, obviously setting up the kill for Irons. Ceui picks up Hilda. So picks up an early tank this time around. And now gets TJ Ares banned. Ceui being a little bit, his comp so far is a little bit slower. Doesn't have a lot of weights to zone out here. Himiko being the last zoning tool he's got, really. Bguy still has Ares to be able to initiate the engage. And I mean, he has Boots and Boots Bozel as well as Kruger, so he has a lot of options here. He also has TJ teleport. If he ends up picking that, but I don't think he necessarily will. So it looks like Ceui opting to have some more of a tank push type of box here with what he's got left. And Bguy still have the option of slowing it down. Does take Juggler. Juggler being able to actually DPS. So he's now gonna potentially get rid of long range engages. So that's gonna be TJ and Kruger. So Ares can still engage, but Oldius is not available for him anymore. Does get Arian Rod. Oh no, Oldius is still there. So Oldius can shut down all this cavalry stuff with his tile effect. That's probably why he banned Kruger. Kruger can engage through the tile effect. Now, Bguy's probably going to keep going with his AoE fest here. Doesn't necessarily have to make it a rush setup though with Juggler. So we'll see what he bans. He bans Himiko and Mariel, so there goes the longest engage range he's got now is Kruger. Takes Licorice, providing some supplemental heals as well as AoE pressure. Bozel, Rian are out, so there goes the majority of the heavy debuffs. It's just Licorice debuffs that he has to contend with. Now, Bernhardt really hard to kill for anything that Bguy has left except for Ares. So depending on how this goes, Bernhardt may kill just everybody. He bans Kruger, so unless Bernhardt is Boots Breeze, he's gonna be moving pretty slow here. Now Ceui looks like he's debating on banning a long range and the tank or heal, so what does he do? Florentia can provide act again. Ares is the solid follow-up for Juggler, or initiates before Juggler, so there's two ways there. Bans those two. Says you can have a second tank. Ceui picks up a second heal. So now he's a little bit more healing. Werner being kind of a nuisance in this case because Werner can snipe either of the two healers if they're too far away. So Ceui's gonna have to rush to the center to make sure that Werner can't benefit from his guard ignore. Go into deployment. So for Ceui, he's playing a slower box than Bguy is. But Bernhardt, once he gets going, can kill everybody on the other team. He does have the benefit of double act again to close the distance and start really putting in work. Juggler making Arian Rod's AoE is not as dangerous. So Bguy does have some survivability there, but not a whole lot of healing. Depending on how Maya is built, that's really only two casts, right? One Maya heal and one Licorice heal, unless you get clocks. Ain's not being as potent against Ceui's team because they're all slower movement. So we're not going to see an Illustrial pop like last game. And Licorice being the only source of debuff. So this isn't as debuff heavy per se, but Maya can convert a lot of the buffs to debuffs. Well, one instance each, basically, right? So let's see. So Maya with mask maids is kind of a threat for Hilda. So he goes mounted charge instead. Maya can actually do a lot of damage to Hilda, Burn, and Arian Rod. Potentially. Now, Florencia is Lancer troops, but I don't know if he'll survive. Even with that, just because of how much damage Warner can potentially do. Burn may make that math fuzzy because of his negative attack aura. So I don't know if Warner can land a kill there. Probably not. Warner buffing the entire group. Bguy playing a little bit more of a positioning game here. Irons being the only unit that he has that has 4 move pre-Warner buff, so he can't engage as easily. Ceui opting to act again right away, since he's gonna lose turn priority no matter what, so act again now before turn priority makes a big difference in the engage. Probably not going in yet. He's gonna wait for the next instance of double act again to do anything, and he's safe to do that, right? Bguy still has to set up. Now Hilda kept her faction buff, even though Burn buffs her to buff Arian Rod. So now the whole team is buffed except for Liana. Now Warner has to be careful when he goes in. With Burn's aura, he could potentially miss a kill. Gets a rush on Arian Rod. I don't know if Arian Rod's in range of Stormlands. Maybe not. I don't think so. And even if she is, you're not going to want to go in because of turn priority. So there's the sprint. Okay. Now that's tricky where he positions because of the juggler jump. Just positions make sure juggler can't jump and be force locked in place, you know, by his units. Now if he jumps, he can still get displaced away by Arian Rod. Okay. I think Ceui is gonna be waiting for Liana's act again to come back up before he goes hard. I think that's an option for him. He's not necessarily in a rush to push in. Bguy's not quite in range with everybody, so he can push in, but there's a lot of healing on Ceui's side now with double healer. So it's not so easy to just unload because you can just heal through a lot of it. And if he AoEs and then it gets healed through, he's gonna be in big trouble because Bernhard will start killing people one by one. So we've got a positional stalemate, so to speak, here. Bguy is still trying to decide how he's gonna play this. Looks like he opts to get another stack of speed stands, right? Building up to that 10 move guard ignore. So Werner is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if Werner attacks, Werner can't get through because of water. So Werner not really as impactful on this map as the other one. The water really shuts down his movement here. So if that wasn't water along the bottom side of the map, Werner already is able to guard ignore, hit Liana if Liana moves up one step. But because of the water, he can't actually get through. And all of his targets right now will be guarded, and on top of that, Burn will have the attack debuff. So that's a bit tougher for him. And Ceui opting to keep moving down the bottom of the map to block off more of it. So every time he moves up, Werner's engage range gets a little bit smaller because there's a swamp on the top side and water on the bottom. He can't take advantage of any of those spots. He may be able to just move along the top to ignore some tiles with the mountain, but it's still a similar problem here. He's really struggling to actually engage. Here goes the first AoE with Ice Breath. He can heal through most of it. Chooses to leave Arian chipped. Right, saving Florencia for later. Say he's saving Flo because Flo can still act again. Here's another AoE. Okay, so he may act again, Arian Rod right here. Because Arian Rod now is... Ooh, that's silence. Okay, so he 3 C's to heal everybody and do a little bit of damage to Ainz. Does not get the silence off of Arian Rod yet, but does act again Liana. So now Liana can heal again the next AoE instance, which is gonna come from a juggler jump at best. If juggler jumps, Liana may not be able to dispel Arian Rod. So he'll have to act again Burn at best. But can still reach. He's checking the debuffs. So there's 3 debuffs. There's a chance that he doesn't even get this. Doesn't even get it. Weighing his options here. Now this is hard because Bguy has turn priority, so he can AoE again. Does not get the silence. That's brutal. 3 debuffs, 2 dispels. The silence stays. Ouch. And now Bguy gets to AoE again. Obviously, you can still heal a lot here. So now we'll see what other debuffs we're gonna see out of this. More silences go out. Bernhardt is super chipped, so he has to heal him. Okay. This is rough because Arian Rod's silence really changes how he can play this. And they got refreshed, so it's a 2-turn silence. Actually, no, it wasn't refreshed. It was 2-turn from the beginning. Now, technically, Liana can dispel it off now. There's only 2 debuffs left, unless more debuffs come in. There's the AoE. Liana can heal through that. So act again on Florencia potentially, or he just tops himself off. That's the question. Now, if he acts again Flo, she could potentially die to counter damage. If she heals herself, it heals everybody, but then it's a loss in tempo. Okay, so she heals herself. The Dispel should be enough. It's only 2 debuffs. Now Arian can finally start the show here. Warner still being useless in the back. Warner just can't get to anybody. I think Warner was is a rough pick on this map. I mean, yeah, he gives the movement buff, right? But that's all he's really doing. He's just forced to watch. Okay, so what does Ultra Purge do? It converts, gets some damage up, but that's it. And now it's Ceui's turn. The Bernhardt anti-heal basically negates Juggler's damage. Arian Rod has Lancer, so Warner can't really kill her very easily. Especially because she has 3 stacks for the damage redux. Juggler can't really attack anybody. Did he take, I don't know if he took Beast Shock. I think he took AoE, did he? I guess we'll find out. Oh, he took Beast Shock. So, Juggler can really only Beast Shock Hilda. Because everybody else will be guarded the instant he does. Attacks Arian Rod. Anti-crit procs, it doesn't get the kill. That might be big problems. Now, Arian AoE will hit everybody. Warner's dead here. Damn, Maya's dead too. And there's no Juggler heal. That's a wrap, I think. Yeah. There's no recovering from that. So he says, come on in. I'll just act against my healers over and over again to get more healing. And we're good. Nice win from Ceui. Okay, they're doing their backup formations. So that was Ceui was able to heal through the combo damage there. Buy time, and then the Arian show cleans up with the Bernhardt setup. So let's see. I think the critical factor there is Bguy's Warner was really not very useful. Ceui was okay with Bguy coming in anyway, so the move buff wasn't really that important anymore. It's not like Ceui's gonna engage right away. So Warner buffs them when they don't necessarily need it that much, and then she just stands there and watches. Gets 1 attack on Arian Rod, doesn't get the job done, and then Arian Rod turns around and wipes the rest of the team. So that's a harsh map for Warner, just because of the terrain features. So, and he didn't really have too much of a choice, because then if he doesn't pick Warner first, then he's forced to play the slower comp. And I guess he didn't want to do that. So, all right, we are now in draft. The Aka ban again. Rosen ban again. Warner's picked up. He did slot in Listel. But Listel looks like he's going to get banned, so that didn't matter too much. Listel TJ is out. Ceui still opting to pick up Liana, making sure that he has a heal since Rosencio got banned and he only runs 3 heal. Now Bguy bans Juggler and Elwyn, both solid counters to the AoE rush setup that he's been doing. Now Warner's he can do a little bit more here. This is not so oppressive. There's avenues to move here more so than the other map, and some terrain features to take advantage of his mechanical soldiers. So that's not as bad. He gets Rien, so that's some major debuffing going on, right? Ceui gets rid of some more AoE, this time getting rid of Himiko Bernhardt. Here, he gets Hilda, so he still picks up his tank because there was only 2 tanks left, so Ceui still opting to do a more standard box here with 1 heal, 1 tank so far. TJ Aries now get banned. Bguy limiting his long range engage option basically so that he can push in with Rian safely. And gets Langrisser. Really likes Langrisser. Provides a lot to the comp because he does have debuff and DPS potential as well as self team healing. Now Ceui is gotta choose whether he picks up a long range engage or more healing. Looks like he's waffling between the two. He does have Deedlit for the anti-AoE rush. Deedlit being very strong against AoE rush because she can see miracles heal everybody and then counter kill immediately. So Deedlit's a really strong pick against that. Bguy is really layering debuffs here, right? You have Langrisser throwing out debuffs, Rian throwing out debuffs, Kruger throwing out debuffs. Kruger has a really wide engage range as well. So it looks like Bguy is looking to just overwhelm with debuff AoE debuffs. Ceui countering with Mariel. So now Ceui's response is basically to put out more healing and more dispel or immunity, right? Mariel can put up immunities when she heals, 2 separate immunities to make the amount of debuffs he gets a little bit less problematic. And Mariel doesn't necessarily need to attack, you just keep healing every turn, helping Liana and Deedlit. So that's 3 units that can basically do some AoE healing to counter Bguy here. And Bguy effectively is playing the dice roll game here. If he lands some crucial debuffs with Rian or Kruger, then the healing may not matter. Because heal block is, at the very least, going to negate 1 set of heals, even if you dispel. Now Bguy is going to have to make a decision here. Ceui doesn't necessarily need to pick up Himiko. And he still has options here. So he bans out Himiko Burn. Landius can also provide some healing as well with his auto attack. Now this is slowed down a little bit with Hilda pick. Hilda buffs Langrisser Werner, so Werner's a little bit more potent here. Can actually land the kill on Mariel. Actually, Werner can kill Mariel and Deedlit. Okay, so it's now to the deploy screen. So, Werner can snipe the 2 DPS off heals. The presence of Hilda means that he can move up a little bit slower, so this may not be as much of a all-in for Bguy's side. On Ceui's side, I think he's opting for the same kind of strategy he did last game, which is basically weather all the AoEs with lots of strong healing and then counter. Not necessarily as decisive as last game. Arian Rod is not here to wipe the entire team, but Mariel does a lot of damage, so you can pick off people one by one with Deedlit and Mariel. So it's a similar effect. Heal back, then pick off people. How effective Werner will be is debatable here, depending on the troop selections that get made and the way everything is positioned. There are some tiles here that Werner can't move into with the pillars, so it makes it a little bit harder to get to people if he wants to body block. You could position in between the pillars, for example, and then suddenly you just put two units on the left and the right, and that's completely body blocked. There is also all these tiles to deal with to make it a little bit harder for Werner to get in, similar to what happened with the water tiles last game. So let's see. So first things first, Ceui picks up all Lancer troops. So now suddenly... Oh no, he didn't. He just walked it back. Okay, so Mariel has Lancers, so she's not gonna die from Warner. Oldies has Revive, unless he gets passive blocked again like that game 1. Deedlit's the only real target for Warner here. Deedlit and Liana. Though Liana may be positioned in such a way that it's going to be a little bit harder. So Deedlit really is the prime target for Warner on the trade. But otherwise the strat is the same. Ceui looks like he's saying, please AoE me, I can heal through all of it, and I will counterkill. For Bguy, he ended up picking up Hilda probably because he understands that he can't just rush in, he needs some kind of protection from the single target damages from Deedlit. So he does have Hilda for that. Hilda can push up and be the anchor basically for the AoEs, right? So Hilda pushes up, the AoEs come in within Hilda guard range, and suddenly Deedlit can't get a counter kill as easily. Mariel can still get a counter kill, but if she does, then she's not healing anymore. So that's kind of the setup Bguy has, right? So it's just, even though he has the Warner speed buff, he opts for a slower tank AoE push, just because it's harder to YOLO AoE into all that healing. And on his side, he can roll the dice a little bit here. Even though it's a slower push, once the AoEs land, he can land some critical debuffs that could basically make it unhealable for Ceui. So I guess that's how this battle might play out here. They both may push-ups deliberately, right, with Hilda. When Bguy engages, we'll see what kind of debuffs he can land. And depending on those debuffs, Ceui will counterkill and heal through the damage. Deedlit does provide immunities here with Gospel. Liana also has Gospel, so the potential debuff targets aren't as high as it normally is. But we'll see. Mariel does have immunities as well. She provides if she uses her 2C to heal. Ruger is already in range if he wants to push. I don't think he's gonna go in though. I think he's gonna take his time and wait for Hilda to be in guard range before he does any kind of AoE. Now Deedlit Liana are gospeled, which means not much debuffs can do to them unless they get stripped off by Kruger. Yeah, Kruger deciding to position up top just to be safe, doesn't get sniped by Mariel. Ceui pushing up now. Nobody for Warner to really kill yet. Alright, Oldies will just revive and then he'll be trapped. Warner's prime targets, Deedlit and Liana, are both very safe in where they are. I think this is going to be a little bit slower coming in. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. Oldies get some tiles here. Is blocking the top side, so Liana and Deedlit can go on along top side now a little bit easier. Getting some quality issues from the stream here. It's a problem with Discord streams. Really can't wait for that spectator mode to come out. Sorry about that, guys. We're just dependent on the quality of the Discord stream. So if there's any kind of lag going on, that's just gonna happen like this. It looks like it's cleared up. So Mariel can't move. At most, Mariel can move one tile to the left because she's there to prevent. Oh, is she gonna move? The instant he moves, Warner snipes, right? Does he want to do that? Actually, okay, so it looks like she's going in. So Mariel can actually attack Hilda and then follow up and attack Warner. Gets silenced though, so he may not be able to kill Warner with this. Oh, he still gets the kill. Lancer Troop's too strong. Okay, so now the Warner threat is gone. Liana and Deedlit can now position a lot more safely. And if he doesn't kill Mariel here, Mariel will run out of range for most of them. Alright, so now Bguy has to decide what he wants to do. Okay, there we go. Does get the kill on Mariel. Everybody is still guarded except for Rian. Can't really get to. So still the waiting game here. We're still in a similar position, right? AoE versus Ceui's healing. The biggest thing is that Deedlit and Warner, or Deedlit and Liana are not under threat by Warner. Here's the first AoE with the Arc Slash. There's a heal block on Oldius. Ooh, Thorns procs too. Oldie's taking a lot of damage here. Procs the revive immediately because of that Thorns. Wow, that Thorns was rough. Now the follow-up AoEs can kill. The only way they won't kill is if Deedlit miracles and then attacks after. But it may not matter. This might kill here. And it does. Okay. Looks like he's gonna try to proc a he's gonna try to proc Hilda's first life here. And he does. Get some supplementary healing. Act Again is still available to proc the second one, as well as being able to heal up everybody from the follow-up AoE from Kruger, so we'll see what he decides to do. Kruger doesn't have any debuffs on the map, just the one. So he's not gonna be as potent. He's not gonna hurt as much here. So really, if Kruger does anything, it'll just be to try to proc some debuffs. But Liana is gospeled. So really, it's just debuffs affecting Deedlit. That's gonna make a difference here. He gets a shield up on Hilda because the tank bust is coming from Deedlit. Only AoEs too, though, which is interesting. Hilda attacking, trying to chip down some of that shield HP here. Okay, if Ceui can get the kill on Hilda, he could potentially last through everything else. He still has Sea of Miracles. And here we go. Does not have enough damage. And he's chipped too. So Rhea and AoE could potentially do a lot of damage here. There's that. What kind of debuffs are we gonna see out of that? Oh, the heal block is rough. It's still there. That may be game. Depending. I don't know, Deedlit survives 2 turns like this. Actually, may not even survive 1 turn. Yeah, Licorice is gonna AoE, yeah. That's it. That heal block on Deedlit doing a lot of damage, or making a big difference.